Welcome back to JASON Boxing. So Yoshiki Takei of Japan defeats JASON Maloney unanimous decision to complete Japanese dominance of the bantamweights, because Japanese fighters now hold all four bantamweight belts, which is quite astonishing, really, when you think about it. I mean, Japanese boxing is in it's a golden era. I mean, Inoue is leading the charge. Surely an all-time great. You can certainly make a case for him, even though he's still active, being the greatest Japanese fighter of all time. Fighting Harada would have an argument with that. And of course, let's not forget there were less belts back in the day, and they were 15-round fights and so on. Well, it's just as well this one wasn't a 15-round fight, because if it was, I don't think there's much doubt JASON Maloney would have retained his WBO bantamweight belt. But it was only a 12-rounder. And Maloney, along with all of his Australian fans, will probably wake up tomorrow and think, if only I got going quicker, if only I'd been a bit more industrious earlier on. Because for the vast majority of the fight, Yoshiki Takei sort of outboxed him, basically. He was boxing on the back foot, southpaw, 6 years younger, 27 to 33, Takei. And even though he came in with, I think it was 8 fights and 8 wins, seven by knockout, but he'd only ever been he'd been 11 round once. There was an 11th round knockout on his record, but most of his fights had been 1, 2, 3 round knockouts. And as we know in life, or in boxing as in life, there is no substitute for experience. He lacked it. Maloney had it. I mean, Maloney came in with 29 fights. He won the title a couple of fights ago, vacant WBO title. He defended it, 2 majority decisions over 12 rounds. He was the guy supposedly with the engine, even though he was the older man. He was the guy with the experience who knew how to pace himself over 36 minutes and get the job done. And, if not outbox, and certainly outfight Takei. Well, Takei, like I say, boxing on the back foot, southpaw. He was punching first. The rounds were kind of similar. I wouldn't say this was a thrilling fight. It had individual thrilling moments, but it wasn't really a thrilling fight. And that's because the rounds did sort of take on a very similar sort of air. Takei moving, punching first, usually last. Maloney ended up just following him around the ring, not really doing a great deal of proactive work, high guard. But it was Takei. Don't forget this was in the Tokyo Dome, so Maloney's away from home. He needed to put his foot on the gas. He needed to put effective pressure onto Takei, because all Takei was doing was controlling the range, boxing on the back foot, keeping Maloney at bay. Maloney occasionally would throw a 1-2, maybe a single punch. Takei, far more imaginative. On a couple of occasions, he threw a sort of lead right hook. Being a southpaw at the right hook, he was leading with it. He was making Maloney think and kind of keeping him in his cage and saying, I'm in control here. So the only question was, could he do it over 12 rounds? Well, it ran about it was the 9th or the 10th, I want to say the 9th, when suddenly Maloney got close and he was putting effective pressure on Takei. He was the one who was punching first. He was getting in close. He was able to sort of rough up Takei. Suddenly, Takei wasn't in control of the pace of the fight. That was Maloney's area. And you thought, okay, we're into the final third of the fight. Maloney's going to take over now and probably will. He'll certainly win the last third of the fight, surely. Will it be enough to make up the previous deficit? And then in the following round, I don't know if it was the 10th or the 11th. I think it must have been the 10th. Normal service was resumed, and suddenly Takei was the one who went back to his boxing, and Maloney wasn't doing anything. He just didn't do enough, Maloney. I mean, he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. And I'm thinking, all right, he's 33, he's had some tough wars, he's only had 29, this is only his 30th fight. So it's not like he's been he's not Arturo Gatti, or Johnny Tapia or someone like that. This is a good quality Aussie guy. Tough fights, yeah. He got stopped by Inoue back in 2020 in 7 rounds, but isn't everyone? He's come back well. As far as Inoue is concerned, that result has actually aged very well. But he should be doing more. He should be letting his hands go more. He should be more imaginative. And in the 10th and the 11th, again, Takei was the one who looked to me like he was pinching the rounds. Now, in the final round, Maloney got close again and let his hands go. And Takei, it looked to me for the last third of the fight as if he was extremely fatigued, but he was fighting through it. It's almost like he wanted this belt more. He wanted to win it, to take the belt more than what Maloney wanted to keep it. That's the impression I got. But in the final round, he almost unravelled because Maloney got close, started whacking him both hands, almost standing on his feet and trying to keep him up close. The punches were coming in and Takei didn't like him. And in fairness to Takei, and maybe this was a mistake, I don't know, but he wasn't grabbing and holding. He was trying to fight back and he took some flush punches. Maloney is, he's got a reasonable knockout record, but he's not a one-punch banger. It's just as well. And like I said earlier, it's just as well this wasn't a 15-round fight because there'd only been one winner if it was a 15-rounder. And by the end of the fight, I mean, the last 20 seconds, Jesus Christ, I mean, Takei he could barely hold his hands up. And Maloney, it looked like Maloney might get the stoppage. If he could just find one big punch to floor Takei, we could see a sort of Ray Ford-style comeback, Laurent Dotil and Jake LaMotte. Do you remember that one all those years ago? But no, it wasn't meant to be. The final bell went and the scores were announced. I had it 117-111 for Takei and a disappointed Maloney. If I like Maloney, both the brothers, I think got a lot of time for them. Australian boxing's great, but this is one that got away, to be honest with you. And what with Tim Tszyu losing, I mean, there's been a bit of a dip in Aussie boxing. They've still got some good fighters, don't get me wrong. Liam Paro, of course, takes on Subriel Mateus. That's an interesting fight. I make Mateus a red hot favourite, but I wouldn't entirely rule out Paro. But I think Andrew Maloney will wake up tomorrow. Jason Maloney, will wake up tomorrow and think, what have I forsaken? I should have done better. So Jason, have I been calling him Jason or Andrew? I've been calling him Jason. This is Jason we're talking about here. He loses his title. The Japanese dominance of bantamweights. I mean, a year and a half ago, one man held all those belts, and that was Naoya Inoue. Now his brother's got one of them. Takei's got one. I mean, it's if ever there was a setup for a tournament to find a new undisputed Japanese bantamweight champion, it's this. I don't know if they're all promoted by the same company, but where's the excellent turkey? Come on, mate. Stop throwing money around. Make this happen. Let's have, semi-finals and a final between these four bantamweight champs. Get all the belts together. And at bantamweight, more dominance for the Japanese. Japanese boxing is absolutely flying. It really is. And I love the little guys, love Japanese boxing. So I'm glad about that. But did you see this fight? Do you feel as I did that it's the fight that got away for Jason Maloney? Or do you feel, what do you think about Takei? Do you think he showed some metal? Like, he definitely showed things he hadn't previously shown, namely, the ability to fight at a high pace over 12 rounds. But let me know your opinions. Comments below, as always. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. And yeah, this Japanese card, as they all are, was terrific. If you haven't seen it, go and see if you can dig it out on YouTube or Daily Motion or whatever. Brilliant stuff. All right, I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and bye for now.